everyone, Jay here from Piatto. I am at our cottage for day 5 of self-isolation, and I know this can be a very difficult time for everybody, and we hope that everyone's staying safe. But I kind of thought that if you're going a little stir crazy like I am right now, maybe we could do something with you, or you could do it with us, that would tie up a little bit of time. So we figured what better thing than to make Neapolitan pizza dough. So we're going to try it and see how it goes. This is my first time doing it at home since, I don't even know when, but before Piatto started. We used to make it on the same counter with Brian every Friday night. So let's give it a go. Okay, so in my first blue bowl, I have 680 grams of Tipo 00 flour. Yellow bowl, nothing, because this is what I'm gonna put my water and my salt in. Second blue bowl, 13 grams of fine sea salt. And in my little tiny guy is 4 grams of fresh yeast. You might not be able to get fresh yeast, but you can definitely do it with dry active yeast as well. The other thing that we're missing right now is water. That needs to be at 79 degrees. And so I'm gonna grab that right now, and I'm gonna have to check and see how much we need. One sec. Okay, so now I'm gonna add all but about 60 milliliters of my water. That looks about right, because I'm going to save that to dissolve my yeast in. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add my little blue bowl, my salt, into here, and then I'm going to do the same with my yeast. You want to crumble your yeast when you're putting it into your water, because it just makes it a little bit easier to dissolve. Should take about 2 minutes to dissolve it once it's in there, and you can just use your hands if you want, or there's always a fork nearby, which actually I'm not going to use because I find it a little bit easier. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to my salt and make sure that that one's done. Obviously, we're doing this at home, but you always want to make sure that you're washing your hands before and making sure you have a clean surface. So I can kind of feel that the majority of that salt is gone right now. And so you just want to stir it till you can't really feel it in your fingers anymore. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my other hand for the yeast because the salt and the yeast need to stay separate for now. You can see that. Just a little bit of yeast. Just kind of press it into your hand. Yeast is a little bit harder to dissolve. Okay, and you want to make sure that you get it all too, because where it's only 4 grams, you just want to make sure that it's all in there. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come back to our flour bowl. And if you have a mixer, that would be great. We don't. So I'm just going to dump all the salt water into the flour, and then I'm going to mix it around for a minute or two. Then I'm going to add my yeast water into it as well. Just giving it a little swirl to make sure that any salt at the bottom is gone. You also don't need to use a bowl for this. When we used to do this Fridays at the cottage before Piatto, we would just do it right on here. So we would put all the flour down and kind of make it a little volcano, so you can put your liquids in the middle and then just stir in a little bit of the flour on the sides. Definitely more fun, but also a lot more messy. So depend on how old you are and how many people or kids are doing it with you. So this is about as much as I can mix this right now. So I'm going to add in the rest of my water. And again, I'm just going to give it a little swirl, and then we're going to go in with it. And you want to make sure you get every last bit of that yeast in there. I almost have it all mixed together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dump it onto the table and just mix it a little bit more, making sure it doesn't roll right off. Now you just want to make sure that it's all nicely mixed together. Probably could have put down a little bit of flour just in case it was a little bit sticky. You're just going to want to knead this until all your lumps are out, and that bell sound that you're hearing, this table that I'm working on actually holds wine glasses as well, so they're clinking together. You can see it coming together a lot more right now, which is great. Just a little bit of extra flour. Then we're going to make it into a nice round ball. I've dried out my bowl, and I'm just going to put a little bit of flour in there in the bottom, just so when you're taking it out it doesn't stick like it kind of is there. So then I'm just going to place it in there, and I'm going to put just a tiny bit more on the top. So dough is in there, a little tiny bit of flour, and you should use a cheesecloth, but I don't have one here. So I just got a very clean blue and white. I don't know if you've noticed, but everything in here is blue and white. Cloth, and I just made it wet with a little bit of warm water, and so I'm just going to cover it. And you actually want the cloth to touch the dough so that you don't get like a hard outer crust on it. So you don't want to press it in there too much, but what I'm just trying to do is press down along the edges of the bowl just so you can't get much air in there. So just tuck it in like a little baby. We got the damp cloth over our dough. I've tucked in all the edges to make sure that there's no air getting in there because you don't want to have like a crunchy crust on the edge of your dough just yet. So we've got that all tucked in. We're going to let it sit for an hour. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my pepperoni and tidy up a little bit, and then we'll check out our dough and see how I did. I looked at my dough at the hour mark and it wasn't quite proofed enough because you want it to double in size. When I looked at it, you can stick your finger in it just to see how fast the hole closes up. So you can tell we tested it 3 times. So we let this one sit for about an hour and a half. If you want to use your dough tonight or the day that you're making it, let it sit for about 3 hours, because what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pull it out of the bowl, I'm going to portion it, and then I'm going to put it back in the fridge covered up for 24 hours-ish, depending on how hungry we are tomorrow. Again, a little bit more flour, and I'm just going to put a tiny bit on the top, and then I'm also going to put some where I'm going to portion it. You don't need a lot, but you don't want it to stick either. Just started pulling it out a little bit, maybe a little more help in there. Almost got it there. There we go. So you can kind of see it's still in a bit of a round shape, which is good because I want to cut this into 4 equal pieces. So I have 2 things next to me. I have a metal spatula if the kids are helping, and I have a knife. We use pizza cutters in the restaurant, but this is probably the next best thing, especially if the kids are helping you. If not, I find a knife fairly easy, so I'm going to use this one, but if you have any kids, use this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it in half. I just want to separate it, and then I'm going to go the other way. So I basically have 4 equal pieces, and then what I'm going to do is just pull them apart, and I'm just going to form them into a little bit of a ball. So again, you can do this however you want. VPN says you tuck it under, and you just want to kind of pull it all and get rid of any air that's in there. And then you're just going to form a C with your fingers, and then just kind of tuck it up and push all that air out, and then give it a little bit of a twist. So you can see at the bottom it's kind of all together. If you want to, since you're not doing VPN, you can kind of roll it so that it forms too. Also, this is super fun for the kids too. If you want to do 3 pizzas the next day and give them some to play with, they love it too, and we do it in the restaurant sometimes. Again, if you were doing this for actual restaurant consumption, no jewelry, hair up, all that stuff, but we're at the cottage and we're just having fun. Finish that one off just like that. Okay, so we got our 4 dough balls. I'm going to bring my next little tray over. You can really just put it in anything that's going to cover it and seal it for air so it doesn't get that crunchy dough, top like we were talking about before. Another little bit of flour. Just going to sprinkle it in here. And this is not the ideal shape, but we're going to make it work because these are going to expand a little bit again in the next 24 hours. So try and give them as much space as you can. So then, you don't want to press this onto the dough like we did before because it will stick. So really you just want to make sure that you got a nice tight seal on your saran so that no air gets in. So we're just going to put that in the fridge for 24 to 48 hours depending on when you want to use it, how hungry you are, when you want to have your pizza, and then you're good to go. I hope you enjoyed this and have fun making pizzas at home. See you soon.